The coronavirus pandemic has become an unprecedented staple of history. And while the world continues to be reshaped by the pandemic along with issues of race, misinformation, politics, and injustice, journalists remain in the forefront of it all, reporting, investigating, and photographing life on a day-to-day basis. To better understand the effects COVID-19 has had on newsrooms, I talked to 3 journalists from Texas State's newspaper, the University Star, who shared their experiences reporting during a pandemic. The first being electronic media senior and the University Star's editor-in-chief, Jaden Edison, who began by explaining what life was like at the Star before COVID-19.
Yeah, so the best example I could use would be on a Monday. So a Monday is typically our production day where we put together our newspaper and we're here all day long. So I mean, typically you have people like in the newsroom, like we're all on our computers working. There are some periods, right? You have some people might be doing homework, but it's a day where we all have to sort of be here throughout the day to see the whole production day through. But throughout the week, though, I mean, different meetings. So every section editor, they would have their meeting in our conference room, which is outside, not too far outside this office. The conference room where you see the meetings going on. People will be showing their PowerPoints and stuff on the big screen TV in there, and you see that side of it.
Despite the interruption, Edison says COVID has not stopped his team from obtaining stories from Texas State voices that need to be heard.
Especially during the pandemic and then the protests that were going on against racism and then the general election. This is a unique time for us to have to be virtual, because I think now, it's a lot of stuff that during a normal year, we'd be in the newsroom all day, all night trying to figure it out. So, knowing that we can do a virtual and take on things like our project right now that we're working on, that's, our year-long project focusing on the Black student population at Texas State, we've been able to do all that different stuff. And a lot of it has been conducted through virtual trainings, virtual meetings, and virtual conversations and texts and all that type of stuff. So it's possible, and that's something I think we proved to ourselves this semester.
During a virtual Common Experience event covered by the University Star, ABC News correspondent and What Would You Do host John Quinones reflected on his career and upbringing while also stating why journalists matter so much to communities.
The journalist, he or she is the person with the little candle or the little flashlight in the dark, and they can shine it on the darkest corners of the room to illuminate injustice, to illuminate corruption and civil rights violations and human rights violations. I think when journalism is done right, and we're not always doing it right these days, and we're under attack and nobody believes us anymore and they call us fake news. But when it's done right, those are the kinds of stories that we should be telling. Those are the kinds of stories that I'm proudest of, going into places where no one else has gone, shining a light on the darkness, giving a voice to people who don't have a voice. Not only speaking to the movers and shakers of the world, but to the moved and the shaken.
Life and Arts editor Brianna Benitez attended the event along with other University Star staff in November. However, she reveals that having to meet and interview her sources like Quinones virtually instead of face-to-face has been bittersweet.
That's like the Life and Arts section in general. I don't know, I think obviously I've done phone interviews in the past, but being face to face with somebody is just a whole nother experience, because if they invite you into their space, so if it's a business owner and they invite you into their for example, I did a story on this local jewelry designer, and she invited me into her studio, so I was able to see everything, and I was able to take things that I saw and incorporate that into the story. So I definitely miss being able to go into people's spaces and really get to know them versus just calling them or meeting through them over Zoom. And then in Life and Arts, we obviously covered events, and we cover events now, but it's just not as fun to imagine if we actually got to meet John Quinones or Lori Hernandez. That would have been so much cooler than doing a webinar Zoom thing. So I definitely miss that. But hopefully next semester, I'm gonna be there. So hopefully that'd be better, and I can actually socially distance hangouts I don't know, like maybe outside or something. I think that'd be cute.
Benitez also elaborated on how being involved with the University Star has given her the opportunity to not only grow as a person, but also as a writer.
I think without it, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Because when I first like got to college, like I was so scared, and I was like really like I'm still like pretty like a shy person, but like once you get to know me, I'm really not. But like again, like I was kind of shy, but like just being forced out of my comfort zone, and even though like it was terrifying, like that really like helped me so much because like if you would have told like high school me that I would be the life and arts editor for the University Star and like manage meetings all the time and have like like have the experience of interviewing like over 150 different people, like I wouldn't have believed you at all. And so I'm very thankful for the University Star and the experience and all like the relationships that I've made. um, and then during COVID, I think as a student journalist, um, I'm so grateful that I've been able to tell these stories that matter so much to people because everyone's going through so much right now. I think we like give them a sense of hope in a way. Like we're not the ones tweeting out like COVID-19 numbers are rising, but like we are like kind of, I guess, the little thing of hope. But like in the beginning, like once COVID did start happening, like I remember like telling the stories of like businesses closing down and like first generation students like not getting the chance to go to graduation and stuff like that, or like art students missing out on like this like their end of the year gallery that they basically like invite so many different people to and get like so much like networking experience through. So I think like those experiences, like I think I'm very grateful that I was the one to tell those stories. So I feel like I'm a part of like Texas state history in a way because I did that.
Multimedia reporter Vanessa Buentello has also faced certain challenges from a photographer standpoint when shooting at events like sports games for the Star.
So I definitely feel like my access to interact with people is very limited. I feel like if if everything was like normal, we'd be able to just interact with at ease, like no mask, just like can confront each other, have like normal conversations. And right now, it's just a lot harder to do. Especially, it's harder getting sources. It's harder photographing people just to keep distance, just to make sure that everyone feels safe. And a lot of people don't necessarily feel safe right now. For me in my head, I like see a photo and like I want to go get it, and I can't sometimes just because maybe there's people around or there's like a barrier where like I'm not allowed to cross for like social distancing purposes. And honestly, it's kind of frustrating because like I know like the potential of a picture I can get and then I can't get it. So I feel like that's just been the most frustrating thing for me.
Buentello also offers her advice to future journalists and journalists in the field to use this time of uncertainty as a time for opportunity.
I just honestly, I feel like there couldn't be a better time to be a journalist because this is probably the hardest time that journalists are probably facing in a long time, just with connecting with people. And I feel like joining journalism or being a part of that right now and just automatically facing that barrier is just going to make you a better journalist overall. Like for me, I feel like it's definitely improved my communication skills, improved my way of like thinking of how I can get a story, just improved myself a lot. Without COVID, I feel like my job might have been easier, but I don't think it would have made me a better journalist.